Greetings, Patrick here. I have Cheetah Will View. And speaking of View, we are going to be doing a review for our friends over at BayView Entertainment. That's right, Peter Castro and company sent us this movie to watch and review. And it's about high time that I've done it. I've been wanting to do this for a while, but I'm doing it now. And then I'll be able to get some fresh, new BayView Entertainment films to talk about. But the movie we're going to be talking about today is from 2008, and this is one thing I want to emphasize about BayView is they are awesome in the respect that they go back and get older films to bring them back up in today's market. That's really important because a lot of films that once they get released, and if they're not a big movie per se, big studio movie, whatnot, a lot of them just get forgotten. In fact, I'm sure the vast majority of you folks will never heard of the movie I'm going to be talking about now. But it was released back in 2008, but it's still being felt today. And we'll get into that. But the movie we're going to be talking about today from 2008 is The Red Baron. Now, I've seen clips of this on YouTube, and when I got a chance to, when me and Peter were talking about reviews, he says, yeah, if you see something you like, let us know. And so when I was poking around and I saw this staring back at me, I was so excited. I was like, are you serious? Man, this movie is amazing. And so I was able to get a copy of this sent our way. And by God, it is amazing. It's a wonderful movie. It really is. In case many of you may not know who the Red Baron was, his name was Manfred Von Richthofen, and he flew with his squadron called the Richthofen's Circus, and they flew the famous Fokker triplane. They flew the Fokker D7, and then got transferred to the triplane. And that plane was a hell of a beast to fight. Oh, that plane could stand on its nose. I mean, it was like the slowest. It's an amazing plane. And basically, this movie is a biography of the Red Baron. He was a famed German ace who had 80 kills in World War I before he was killed in 1917. He only was active for 3 or 4 years, and 3 years, really, 1914. He was only 25 years old when he died. The Kaiser Wilhelm, wanted him to actually lead the Air Force, the German Air Force, at 25. He was a very gifted pilot, And so the movie basically covers his life from his humble beginnings to the war where he becomes a feared ace right away. But Manfred von Richthofen had a code of honor back there in World War I, and in the early days of World War I. In fact, actually throughout all the way through the war, there were various acts of honor and among the combatants, sometimes stopping for Christmas music together, sharing a meal. World War I was a brutal war. Brutal. France lost over 40% of its men between 18 and 40 during that war. 40% of its population of men. Think about that. France, a big country like that, lost 40% of its men during World War I. But Richthofen, this shows him being a very, in fact, opening the scene of the movie, it shows him and his squadron flying by a British soldier's funeral and dropping off some flowers out of respect for a valiant comrade and peer who happened to die in a dogfight. But both sides did this. Both sides, and during the war, much more in the beginning than toward the end. But they would fly, after an ace or ace of aces was killed, they would fly and pay their respects by doing a flyover and dropping a wreath and some flowers or whatnot. Yes, and a lot of times, whenever a man landed in no man's land, which is between the enemy lines, they were able to talk, and that was their peaceful area. And then you would never allow to fire on anybody on the ground. There was a movie called Flyboys which depicted that, where a German pilot strafed an Allied pilot on the ground, and his commander, looked at him and just shook his head, saying, that's not really, it's not what we do. We're not about that. They had code of honor back then, and we see that with the Red Baron as he flies. He's flying. He likes the people he's flying against. He doesn't want to he doesn't want to kill anybody. That's not really what he wants. He wants the war to end, but if he doesn't really want to go after anybody, but he has to. He knows this, and he's gifted, and so we see him struggle with that as and the war starts. He shoots down a pilot, a Canadian pilot named Roy Brown, and then he lands and proceeds to help the pilot, the enemy pilot, Roy Brown, to get to a hospital. And there at the hospital, he meets this nurse named Kate, and Manfred and Kate, they have a mutual attraction for each other, but of course, being during wartime, it's really, really rough, and but they slowly, and with the help of Captain Brown, because those two actually shoot each other down a second time, and they land in no man's land, and they sit and they talk for a few hours before they each go the other way. They get to know each other, and so and of course Captain Brown was played by Ralph Fiennes. Was it Rafe? Let me see which one that is. I want to make sure I got it right. Joseph Fiennes. I know those two brothers. Joseph Fiennes. So Roy Brown is played by Joseph Fiennes, and they have a mutual respect for each other, and hoping not to see each other in the sky because they like each other. And in fact, Captain Brown actually tells Manfred that Kate likes him because it's all when he was in the German hospital. That's all he heard about that Kate was bitching about Manfred. So the two Manfred and Kate end up together. They end up together, but pressure is building because Germany is now the World War I was, like I said, it was a beast. They had trench warfare, and basically just people would just shoot each other dead. I mean, nobody was winning that. It was a war of attrition. And Germany started to feel that, and as they started to lose more planes, more pilots, and the ground troops were also being decimated as well. So it was getting more and more increasingly hard, to try to have a relationship when the war was not going so well. And we see the toll it takes on Manfred. He gets wounded in combat. He suffers a head wound, and is taken care of by Kate, but then when his base is attacked at night by the British bombers, he leads his men up into a night fight, which they're not really prepared for. Nobody was back there. That was really, really tough, really, really tough. But they had to do it. And we see that it was hard because you couldn't really fly very well at night because they didn't have lights. And you were just going based on the moonlight, and so you see some of his comrades die, and trying to stop the British bombers, and so that just it just weakens him every time somebody, and he himself critically injured, it weakens him, and pretty soon he realizes that things are not going so well for Germany. In fact, when the Kaiser asks him to lead over to the Air Force, Manfred comes back and says, "Well, What are we ask for? What are we ask for peace? What are we surrender?" And of course, the Kaiser doesn't take that too well, and he allows Richthofen to go back to a squadron. And him and Kate do become finally a couple, and he had promised her that he would not fly anymore. Well, unfortunately, circumstances dictate that he does, And so we see him on his fateful day, getting ready to lead his men up to combat, and it shows him in the cockpit, and you see his face's resignation. He has a feeling that he knows that his luck has run out, and so we see it fade, and then later on we see Captain Brown find Kate and at the bray site of the Red Baron, and he gives her a Manfred scarf that he wore. It was just signifying to her that he had landed his plane and had gone over to see if he could help Manfred. So, and that's now I don't know if that happened or not, because the Red Baron was he was definitely killed by Captain Roy Brown from the Canadian Air Force. I know some people say that, well, it hasn't been proven, but it really was. Everybody's been knowing that for a while. I don't know why he was there. He did kill the Red Baron. He shot him out of the sky, hit him in the head. He got shot in the head. So it killed him instantly, and his plane crashed and whatnot. But they don't show that one. They don't show Captain Brown killing him. And at first, I was a little bit frustrated about that in watching the movie, because they'd done such a great job at that. But then when I sat there and I thought about it, I thought, I'm all right with it. The last scene we see a Manfred is sitting in his cockpit, and then it fades to black. Well, if you're any sort of historian of the Red Baron, that's signifying that's his last day. He had 80 kills. Like I said, he had 80 kills before he passed. His brother also flew for the circus and took it over after he died. But the war had ended, and his brother went on later on to die 4 years later in 1922, when he was flying a commercial plane that crashed, and he died when the engines failed. Just tragic all the way around. Yeah, war. I mean, like I said, he was a gentleman pilot. He was not a bloodthirsty pilot. The rules of warfare. It's when it first started, there was still honor among the combatants. When planes started flying, when they started flying in the air, a lot of the times the only thing people would do, they would throw fruit at each other. First of all, that's what they were doing. They would go out there and try to throw fruit. And then later on, it got on to being the pistols, and then it went on to being, later on, it went on to being synchronized machine guns through the propellers. And, but there are still certain rules in warfare that they emphasized on here, and including Manfred, was you never shot a man when he was down on the ground or his plane was disabled and on fire. You never chased it down. You never shot him down. And when one of his pilots does this, in fact, his own brother does this, he rips him an asshole. He says, "We don't do that here. This is not what we're doing." Because we don't do that. We're better than that. And so, yeah, this is an impressive movie. I really enjoyed it. My biggest complaint, more than anything else, was they had a lot of good fight scenes. I dare say the fight scenes in this movie were better than the one of Flyboys. Flyboys had a lot of good scenes in it, but I thought the combat here, and it looks like the planes that they had. Boy, if that was CGI, hats off to them for that, because those planes looked real. Those planes looked real in this movie, and I'm not sure if they weren't or were not, but if they were, hats off to them. Of course, some of the battle scenes were definitely CGI, of course, but the planes on the ground, I believe they were real planes. If they were mock-ups, more power to them, because they look like they could fly. I want to talk about the cast of the film, because I think it's important. It had a mixed cast. It had an international cast for this movie. Matthias Schweighöfer. Oh, I can't say this. Sorry, Matthias. I'm going to Schweighöfer. He played Marshal Manfred, Air Marshal Manfred von Richthofen. He was also a nobility. He was considered a baron in the German aristocrats. Lena Headey from Cersei from the Game of Thrones. She played Kate, and she did a nice job. Lena Headey can play anything. She's beautiful and she's glamorous, but she looked really good in this as a nurse. And the chemistry between her and Matthias was really strong. American Till Schweiger played Lieutenant Werner Voss, which was a real pilot. He was the man that taught Manfred how to fly. He had 34 kills before he was killed in 1917. And of course, like I mentioned, Joseph Fiennes played Captain Roy Brown, and he did a nice job in the role as well. The rest of the cast is all German, pretty much. I will say that as far as we know, Till Schweiger, he still works, he still acts. He's a very popular actor. A lot of times he plays bad guys. And of course, like I mentioned, Lena. And Matthias is still working as well. He's a big star in Germany now, and he has appeared in some big movies, including Oppenheimer. He had a part in Oppenheimer, where he played one of the German scientists. This movie's about 2 hours long. There's no extras on it, unfortunately. It is rated PG-13, and that's fine. That's fine. PG-13, right? Perfect rating for this. There's a lot of combat and a lot of planes flying and everything else, but it's a historical movie. Like I'm not sure. I mean, some of the facts are there. They're correct. I'm sure some of it was Hollywoodized. Like Captain Brown giving the scarf to Kate. Doesn't really matter. It made for good entertainment. It made for good drama, and I appreciate it. This is a fine movie. You can get this at BayView Entertainment. Highly recommend it. If you like war movies, if you like airplane movies, if you like autobiographies, this is a fine movie to get. Highly recommend this. One of the best movies I've seen this year so far. And again, you can get this at BayView Entertainment. And I'll be putting the link down below, and you guys can go check it out. All right. Well, that's it for this review. Thank you for watching. I know it's a little bit longer than normal. I sort of tend to do deep dives on some of my reviews, but this one deserves it. And I hope you guys check it out. And if you have seen it, let me know down below if you've seen and which movie, which World War One movie is your favorite. I know a lot of people, they really like the remake of the Western Front. And some of us remember Snoopy and the Red Baron fighting each other. But I always thought of that as more as a respect. Like Charles Schultz was showing the Red Baron respect, because Snoopy never shot him down. he never got the Red Baron. He always got shot down. And there's, of course, the aforementioned Flyboys with James Franco, and that was a fine movie as well. With a young all-star American cast. A really good movie. I really enjoy Flyboys as well. And, yeah. All right. Thanks for watching. If you're new to the channel, please consider giving us a sub. Drop a comment down below. Hit the like button. And thank you for watching. And we will talk to you soon. Peace.